Sam wiped the grease from her hands and looked around the small repair shop. It was another quiet afternoon on Gateway Station, the massive space station that floated between 12 different star systems. The shop wasn't much to look at, just a cramped room filled with tools, spare parts, and half-finished projects scattered across 3 workbenches. But it was home. And Sam took pride in fixing things that others said couldn't be fixed. The door chimed softly. Sam looked up, expecting to see one of the regular customers, maybe old Merchant Krell with his faulty scanner, or Engineer Davis from the station's maintenance crew. Instead, a small figure stood in the doorway, barely reaching the door handle. It was a draconian child, no more than 7 or 8 years old by human standards. The young one had deep purple scales that shimmered under the shop's lights, small wings folded against their back, and large golden eyes that were brimming with tears. In their small clawed hands, they clutched something close to their chest. "Hello there," Sam said gently, kneeling down to be at eye level with the child. "Can I help you?" The child sniffled and stepped forward hesitantly. You fix things?" they asked in broken Galactic Common, the universal language used for trade and communication across the stars. "I do," Sam replied with an encouraging smile. "What do you have there?" Slowly, the child extended their hands, revealing a small mechanical dragon. It was exquisite, made of what looked like polished silver and bronze, with tiny crystalline scales that should have glowed with inner light. But now it lay still and dark, one wing bent at an awkward angle, its tail broken off completely. Sam's breath caught. Even broken, the craftsmanship was incredible. This was clearly draconian work, probably worth more than Sam made in a year. "It won't fly anymore," the child whispered, fresh tears rolling down their scaled cheeks. "It won't sing or light up. I dropped it, and now it's broken. Mother says it cannot be fixed. Father says I must learn to be more careful. But please can you try?" Sam carefully took the mechanical dragon, turning it over in her hands. The weight felt wrong. It was too light for metal, yet too solid to be plastic. The joints used a technology Sam had never seen before. And when she looked closer at the broken edges, she could see what looked like tiny crystal threads instead of wires. Any sensible mechanic would have said no. This was clearly beyond human technology. One wrong move could destroy it completely. And if something went wrong, the child would be even more heartbroken. But Sam looked at those golden eyes, saw the desperate hope there, and couldn't refuse. "I'll try my best," Sam said. "I can't promise it will work perfectly, but I promise I'll be very, very careful. Is that okay?" The child's face lit up like a sunrise. "What's your name?" Sam asked. "Kieran," the child replied. "Well, Kieran, I'm Sam. This might take a few days. Can you come back in 3 days?" Kieran nodded eagerly, then suddenly looked worried. "How much will it cost?" Sam thought about it. She had bills to pay, supplies to buy, but she also remembered being a child with a broken treasure, how the whole world seemed to end when something precious was lost. "How about 20 credits?" Sam suggested. It was barely enough to cover materials, let alone her time. Kieran's eyes went wide. "Really? That's all?" "That's all," Sam confirmed. "Now go on home, before your parents worry." Kieran thanked her 3 more times, then hurried out of the shop, their small wings buzzing with happiness. Sam didn't notice the tall figure standing across the corridor, partially hidden in the shadow of a support pillar. High Commander Zareth of the Draconian Imperial Fleet watched the entire exchange. Their powerful arms crossed over their armored chest. Zareth had followed their child through the station, worried when Kieran had slipped away from their quarters. Draconians were not always welcome everywhere, and a child alone could face unkindness, or worse. Zareth had been ready to intervene, to protect, to demand respect for their youngling. But this human had shown only gentleness. No fear of draconian claws, no irritation at a child's tears, no attempt to overcharge or take advantage. Just simple kindness. Zareth's eyes narrowed thoughtfully as they watched the human mechanic through the shop window. Sam had already placed the broken toy on a clean white cloth under a bright light and was examining it with careful attention, as if it were the most important project in the galaxy. The commander pulled out a small communication device and spoke quietly into it. "This is High Commander Zareth. I need access to security feed. Station 7. Sector 3. Repair Shop 14B. Authorization code Zareth Omega 7. A moment later, a voice responded. Access granted. Commander. May I ask why you need surveillance of a repair shop? Zareth's scaled lips curved slightly. Personal interest. Keep this request confidential. Of course, Commander. Zareth took one last look at the shop where the human worked. Unaware of being observed. Unaware that those careful hands held more than a broken toy. They held the beginning of something that would change everything between their two species. Then the commander turned and walked away, their long tails swishing behind them, already planning to watch every moment of what would happen next. Inside the shop, Sam began taking careful measurements of the broken dragon, completely focused on the challenge ahead, having no idea that the most powerful draconian in 12 star systems was watching. Sam closed the shop early that evening and locked the door. The other repair jobs could wait. Something about the little mechanical dragon fascinated her, and she wanted to give it her complete attention. She cleared her main workbench, set up extra lights, and carefully placed the broken toy in the center. Then she sat down with her magnifying lens and began a thorough examination. The more she looked, the more amazed she became. The dragon's body wasn't made of any metal she recognized. It felt like metal, looked like metal. But when she tested it carefully, it seemed to be some kind of crystal, grown into metal shapes. The joints used tiny spheres that rotated in ways that shouldn't be possible. There were no visible bearings or supports, yet they had moved smoothly before the damage. Incredible, Sam whispered to herself. She took detailed photographs from every angle, made careful drawings, and wrote notes about every tiny detail. This wasn't just a toy. This was a masterpiece of engineering that combined art, science, and something else she couldn't quite name. Across the station, in her private quarters, High Commander Zareth sat before a display screen showing the feed from Sam's workshop. The commander had dismissed all attendance, claiming to need time for private meditation. In truth, Zareth couldn't look away from what the human was doing. Most mechanics, draconian or otherwise, would have simply tried to force the broken parts back together or replace them with whatever materials they had available. But this human was studying, learning, trying to understand before attempting any repair. Interesting, Zareth murmured, leaning closer to the screen. Back in the shop, Sam gently tried to open the dragon's chest panel to access the inner workings. It took her 2 hours to figure out the locking mechanism. It wasn't screws or clips, but a puzzle lock that required pressing 3 specific scales in the right sequence. When the panel finally opened, Sam gasped. Inside was a network of crystal threads in every color imaginable, woven together in patterns that seemed almost alive. Each thread glowed faintly with its own light, creating a beautiful rainbow in the darkness of the chest cavity. Crystal circuits, Sam breathed. I've heard theories about these, but I've never seen one. She knew immediately that she couldn't just solder wires like she would with human technology. These crystals carried information through light, not electricity. They needed to be reconnected perfectly or they wouldn't work at all. Sam spent the entire night reading everything she could find about draconian technology. Most of it was restricted information, but there were some public scientific papers and cultural documents available. She learned that draconians believe technology should be beautiful as well as functional. They grew their circuits like gardens. cultivating crystals over months or years. So forcing it won't work, Sam said to herself, rubbing her tired eyes. I need to work with what's already here, respect the original design. As dawn broke over the station, Sam had a plan. She carefully mapped every crystal thread, marking where each one should connect. Then she began the delicate work of straightening the bent wing. The wing frame was cracked in 3 places. Sam couldn't grow new crystal to repair it. That would take equipment she didn't have, and months of time. But she could create tiny supports using a flexible polymer she usually used for delicate sensor repairs. She heated it carefully, shaped it to match the wing's natural curve, and bonded it to the crystal structure. It took 6 hours of steady work, her hands cramping, her eyes strained from the magnification. But finally, the wing held its proper shape again. Commander Zareth watched it all. The screen showed Sam taking breaks, only to stretch, drink water, and rest her eyes for a few minutes before returning to work. No impatience. No shortcuts. Just careful, methodical dedication. One of Zareth's officers knocked on the door. Commander, you're needed for the morning briefing. I'm occupied, Zareth replied, not looking away from the screen. But Commander, this is most unusual. I said I'm occupied. Zareth's voice carried the tone of absolute command. The officer retreated quickly. Zareth's eyes softened as they returned to watching Sam work. Forgive me, the commander whispered. But this is important. By the second evening, Sam had reattached the broken tail and repaired most of the internal crystal connections. But some of the threads were too damaged. They needed to be replaced. Sam stared at the problem for a long time. Then she had an idea. She went to her storage cabinet and pulled out a box of fiber optic cables, thin strands that carried light signals. They weren't crystals, but they worked on the same principle. Carefully, she selected the thinnest fibers and began testing them. By adjusting their length and using tiny prisms she salvaged from broken scanners, she could make them carry the same light frequencies as the original crystal threads. It's not perfect, Sam muttered, but it should work. She worked through another night, making tiny adjustments, testing each connection. The mechanical dragon slowly came back to life under her hands. First, one eye began to glow faintly. Then the scales started catching light again. Finally, after connecting the last thread, the whole dragon shimmered with gentle rainbow colors. Sam held her breath and carefully activated the movement mechanism. The dragon's head turned smoothly, its wings spread gracefully, its tail swished from side to side. Then it made a soft, musical chirping sound, the song Kieran had mentioned. Yes. Sam laughed, tears of joy and exhaustion running down her face. We did it, little one. We brought you back. In her quarters, Commander Zareth stood abruptly, wings spreading wide in an instinctive gesture of profound emotion. The commander's chest felt tight with feelings that had no name in any language. Impossible, Zareth whispered. How did a human, with primitive tools, accomplish what our own master craftspeople said couldn't be done? But Zareth already knew the answer. It was there in every moment of the recording. Sam had succeeded because she had cared enough to try, to learn, to respect what she didn't fully understand. The next day would be day 3. Young Kieran would return, and Commander Zareth would be watching. The morning of the 3rd day arrived with the usual bustle of Gateway Station. Merchants opened their stalls. Travelers hurried to catch transport ships, and the massive station hummed with the sounds of 100 different species going about their business. Sam had barely slept, too excited about the repaired dragon. She had spent the early morning hours making one final improvement, a small adjustment to the voice mechanism that made the dragon's song even sweeter than before. She placed the mechanical dragon on a soft cloth in a presentation box, positioning it so Kieran would see it immediately. The door chimed at exactly 10 o'clock station time. Sam looked up to see Kieran practically bouncing in the doorway, golden eyes wide with hope and fear. Did you? Kieran couldn't finish the sentence. Sam smiled warmly. Come see for yourself. Kieran approached the workbench slowly, almost afraid to look. Then they saw the dragon resting in the box, scales shimmering with soft rainbow light, wings perfectly positioned, tail curled elegantly around its feet. It's beautiful, Kieran whispered. Watch this, Sam said gently. She pressed a small scale near the dragon's shoulder. The mechanical dragon's eyes opened, glowing with warm golden light. It raised its head, spread its wings, and began to sing, a soft, melodious sound like wind chimes mixed with distant bells. Then it stood up on its four legs and walked in a small circle, tail swishing gracefully behind it. Kieran made a sound between a laugh and a sob. Tears streamed down their scaled cheeks, but these were tears of pure joy. You fixed it. You really fixed it. It's even better than before. Quote. The child reached out with trembling hands, and Sam carefully lifted the dragon, placing it in Kieran's palms. The mechanical creature immediately nuzzled against Kieran's fingers. Recognizing its owner through some technology Sam still didn't fully understand. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kieran cried, clutching the dragon close. I thought I'd never see it work again. Mother said, it was too broken. Father said even the master craftspeople on our homeworld couldn't fix something this damaged. But you did it. Sam felt her own eyes getting misty. I'm just glad I could help. It's a wonderful creation. Whoever made it originally was a true artist. Kieran looked up at Sam with adoration. You're amazing. You must be the best mechanic in the whole galaxy. Sam laughed softly. I don't know about that. I just did my best. She paused, then added, the total is 20 credits, like we agreed. Kieran carefully set the dragon down and pulled out a credit chip, handing it to Sam. This is all I have saved. Is it enough? Sam scanned the chip. It contained exactly 20 credits. She smiled and processed the payment. Perfect. Take good care of your friend there. I will. I promise I'll never drop it again. Kieran picked up the dragon, cradling it like the treasure it was. The child turned to leave, then stopped and looked back. Sam, you're not just a good mechanic. You're a good person. Thank you for being kind to me. Before Sam could respond, Kieran hurried out of the shop, wings buzzing with happiness, the mechanical dragon singing softly in their arms. Sam stood there for a moment, feeling warm inside. This was why she had become a mechanic, not for the money or recognition, but for moments like this, for the joy of fixing what was broken and returning happiness to people who needed it. The door chimed again. Sam turned, expecting another customer, but instead found herself face to face with the tallest draconian she had ever seen. The figure stood nearly 8 feet tall, with deep crimson scales that seemed to shimmer with inner fire. Powerful wings were folded against a broad back, and sharp golden eyes, so similar to Kieran's, but filled with ancient wisdom, studied Sam carefully. The draconian wore formal military armor, decorated with symbols Sam didn't recognize, but which clearly indicated very high rank. Sam's heart jumped into her throat. She had seen draconians on the station before, but never one like this. This was someone important, someone powerful, and they were standing in her modest little shop. Hello, Sam managed to say, trying to keep her voice steady. How can I help you? The draconian inclined their head slightly, a gesture of respect that seemed oddly formal. I am High Commander Zareth, of the Draconian Imperial Fleet. I believe you just helped my child, Kieran. Sam's eyes went wide. Your child? Kieran is your... She stopped, trying to process this information. She had just charged a High Commander's child 20 credits for a repair job that was probably worth thousands. Please, don't be alarmed, Commander Zareth said, and despite the deep, powerful voice, there was gentleness in it. I came to ask you a question. May I? Sam nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Zareth stepped closer. And Sam noticed that despite the commander's size and obvious strength, every movement was careful and controlled, as if trying not to seem threatening. Why did you help Kieran? Zareth asked. You could have refused. The work was clearly beyond normal human technology. You could have charged much more. My child would have paid anything. Yet you spent 3 days and nights on a task that brought you almost no profit. Why? Sam thought about it for a moment, then answered honestly. Because it mattered to them. I saw how much that dragon meant to Kieran, and I just couldn't say no. When something matters that much to someone, especially a child, you try to help if you can. That's all. 8. Zareth stood very still, those golden eyes studying Sam's face. The silence stretched for several long seconds. Then, slowly, the commander's expression softened into something that might have been a smile. That's all? Zareth repeated quietly. Do you know what you have just said? Human? Sam shook her head, confused. Zareth's wings rustled softly. You have just described the highest principle of draconian honor, caring for what matters to others, especially our younglings, above all personal gain. This is the foundation of our entire civilization. And you practice it naturally, without even knowing its significance. The commander reached into a pouch and pulled out a credit chip, placing it on Sam's workbench. The proper payment for the work you did. Sam picked up the chip and nearly dropped it when she saw the amount. This is 10,000 credits. Commander, I can't accept this. We agreed on 20. You agreed on 20. Zareth interrupted gently. I am paying what the work was truly worth. Not just the repair, but the care, the respect, and the honor you showed my child. The commander paused, then added, and I would like to ask your permission for something. Permission? Sam asked, still stunned. I would like to tell my people about what happened here, about the human mechanic who treated a draconian child with kindness and respect, who valued my child's happiness above profit. Would you allow this? Sam didn't fully understand why this mattered so much, but she could see it was important to the commander. Of course. I'm honored that you think it's worth sharing. Zareth nodded slowly. You have no idea what you have begun, Sam the mechanic. But you will. I promise, you will. With those mysterious words, Commander Zareth turned and left the shop, leaving Sam standing there with a credit chip worth more than she usually made in 6 months, wondering what had just happened. Outside, Zareth pulled out a communication device and began composing a message to the Draconian High Council. This was too important to keep secret. The galaxy needed to know what humanity was truly capable of. 3 days after Commander Zareth's visit, Sam noticed something unusual. A Draconian couple entered her shop, carrying a small wooden box wrapped in silver cloth. They approached the counter with careful, respectful steps. Are you Sam the mechanic? The female Draconian asked in perfect galactic common. Yes, that's me, Sam replied, still not used to the sudden attention from Draconians. How can I help you? The male Draconian unwrapped the cloth, revealing an ancient-looking music box. We heard what you did for young Kieran, child of High Commander Zareth. This music box belonged to my grandmother. It has not played in 50 years. Our own craftspeople say it cannot be repaired. The mechanism is too old, too delicate. But we thought, perhaps, you might try? Sam took the box carefully. It was beautiful, made of dark wood, with silver inlays showing dragons dancing in starlight. I can look at it, she said. But I can't promise anything. If your own experts couldn't fix it, you fixed what our experts said was impossible, the female interrupted gently. We trust you to try. That is enough. They left the music box with Sam, along with payment in advance, far more than Sam thought was reasonable. When she tried to refuse the extra credits, they simply smiled and said, "For your care, not just your skill." The next day, 2 more Draconians arrived with broken heirlooms, then 3 more the day after that. Within a week, Sam had a waiting list of Draconian customers, each bringing precious items that held deep family meaning. Station Administrator Chen called Sam to his office, looking both confused and concerned. "Sam, what's going on?" "I've had 12 high-ranking Draconian officials request extended stays on the station specifically to visit your shop. The Draconian embassy just asked me for a larger docking area. Do you know what's happening?" Sam shook her head helplessly. "I just repaired a toy for a child. I don't understand why it's become such a big deal." Chen pulled up a holographic display. "Look at this. It's been shared across the entire Draconian communication network." He pressed play. The hologram showed Commander Zareth speaking to what looked like the Draconian High Council. "I have witnessed something remarkable," Zareth's voice said. "A human mechanic, with no training in our technology, with tools far inferior to our own, repaired my child's most precious possession. But more than that, this human charged only 20 credits, barely enough to cover materials. When I asked why, the answer was simple. Because it mattered to them." The recording continued with Zareth explaining everything in detail. Sam's careful study of the dragon, the 3 sleepless nights, the respectful adaptation of techniques, the gentle kindness shown to Kiran. This human embodies what we Draconians claim to value most, Zareth concluded. Care for younglings, respect for what others treasure, honor over profit. If one human can show such understanding of our ways without ever being taught them, what else might humanity teach us? I propose we investigate further. The hologram ended. Sam sat in stunned silence. That recording has been viewed over 2 billion times across Draconian space, Chen said quietly. You're famous, Sam. And apparently, every Draconian family with a broken heirloom wants to see if you're really as honorable as the commander claims. Sam felt overwhelmed. I was just being normal. I was just doing what felt right. Maybe that's exactly the point, Chen replied thoughtfully. Back at her shop, Sam worked harder than ever before. Each item she received told a story. A grandfather's pocket watch that no longer ticked, a daughter's first flight medal with a broken clasp, a wedding gift music box that had gone silent, an ancient data crystal containing family histories that wouldn't load anymore. Sam treated each one with the same care she had given Kieran's dragon. She researched, studied, learned about Draconian culture and technology. She discovered that Draconians believed objects could hold memories and emotions, that fixing something wasn't just mechanical work but a kind of healing. She began to understand why they cared so much about proper repair. It wasn't about the object itself. It was about preserving connections to loved ones, to history, to moments that mattered. One evening, an elderly Draconian arrived just before closing time. His scales were pale gray with age, and he moved slowly, leaning on a carved walking stick. He carried a small package wrapped in faded blue cloth. Master Mechanic Sam, he said in a voice like rustling leaves. I am Historian Velthus. I have traveled 3 weeks to reach this station. 3 weeks? Sam repeated, surprised. That's a long journey. Please, sit down. Can I get you anything? The old Draconian settled into a chair with a grateful sigh. You are kind. That is good. I need to know if the stories are true. He unwrapped the cloth, revealing a small holographic projector, ancient and cracked. This contains recordings of my late bonded mate, my children when they were young, my parents who are long gone. It stopped working 30 years ago. I have kept it, hoping that someday, but our best craftspeople say the technology is too old, the damage too severe. They tell me to accept the loss. Sam took the projector gently. It was indeed badly damaged. The crystal core was fractured. The housing cracked. The power cell long dead. I cannot pay you much, Velthus continued. I am just a retired historian. But these recordings are all I have left of my family's voices. If you could, somehow, his voice broke, forgive an old one's foolish hope. Sam looked at the broken projector, then at the elderly Draconian's face, seeing the desperate hope there mixed with expected disappointment. She thought about losing her own parents years ago, how she would give anything to hear their voices one more time. I'll do everything I can, Sam promised. And please don't worry about payment. Some things are more important than credits. Velthus's eyes filled with tears. The commander was right about you. You understand honor. As word of historian Velthus's visit spread, more Draconians came forward. Not just wealthy officials or military commanders, but ordinary people, teachers, merchants, artists, engineers. Each brought something precious and broken. Each brought trust. Sam hired 2 assistants to help manage the growing workload. A young human engineer named Marcus, and a Draconian apprentice craftsperson named Sira, who wanted to learn Sam's techniques. Human diplomats began visiting the shop too, trying to understand what was happening. Why were Draconians suddenly so interested in one human mechanic? But Sam didn't have time for politics or diplomacy. She had work to do. Important work. Work that mattered to people who trusted her. And somewhere in Draconian space, the High Council watched and discussed what this might mean for the future of human-Draconian relations. Commander Zareth smiled, knowing that a simple act of kindness to a child with a broken toy had started something beautiful. 2 months had passed since Sam repaired Kieran's dragon. The small repair shop had become something of a legend across Gateway Station. Sam now worked with a team of 5 people, 3 humans, and 2 Draconians, all dedicated to treating broken treasures with the care they deserved. On a quiet morning, as Sam was teaching Marcus how to properly align crystal circuits, the shop door chimed. Commander Zareth entered, accompanied by 2 other Draconians, wearing formal robes decorated with symbols of the High Council. Sam quickly wiped her hands and stood up. Commander Zareth, welcome back. Is Kieran's dragon working well? Zareth's face curved into a warm smile. It works perfectly. Kieran carries it everywhere and talks about you constantly. But I'm not here about the dragon today. The commander gestured to the 2 robed figures. These are council members, Thrace and Valora. They have traveled far to meet you. The 2 council members bowed their heads in respect, a gesture that made Sam uncomfortable. She was just a mechanic. After all. Master. Mechanic. Sam. Council member. Thrace began, his deep voice formal but warm. The Draconian High Council has been observing your work for these past months. We have received reports from 73 families whose treasures you have restored. Every single report speaks not just of your skill, but of your honor, your care, and your respect for what these objects mean to their owners. Council member Valora continued. You repaired historian Velthus's holographic projector, something our greatest craftspeople declared impossible. The old historian was able to hear his late mate's voice again, to see his children's first flights, to preserve his family's memory. He wept with joy and has told everyone he meets about the human who gave him back his past. Sam felt her cheeks warm with embarrassment. I just did what I could. I'm glad I could help. That is exactly why we are here, Thrace said. You always say, I just did what I could, as if your actions are ordinary, but they are extraordinary. You have shown us something about humanity that we did not fully understand before. Zareth stepped forward. Severeth. Zareth stepped forward. Sam. The Draconian High Council wishes to invite you to our homeworld, Draconis Prime. This invitation has never been extended to any non-Draconian in our entire history. You would be the first. Sam's eyes went wide. The first? But why me? I'm nobody special. There are brilliant scientists, famous diplomats, important leaders. None of them repaired a child's toy for 20 credits. Valora said softly. None of them spent 3 sleepless nights on something that brought no profit. None of them understood, without being taught, what we value most. That caring for what matters to others is the highest form of honor. Thrace pulled out a formal scroll, written in flowing draconian script with a translation in Galactic Common. The Council wishes you to visit our homeworld to teach our master craftspeople about your approach to restoration and repair. We have great skill, yes, but we have become rigid in our methods. You have shown us that sometimes understanding and adapting is better than following ancient rules perfectly. And we want our people to meet the human who started a bridge between our species, not through treaties or trade agreements, but through simple kindness to a crying child. Sam looked at the scroll. 9. Her hands trembling slightly as she took it. I don't know what to say. This is incredible. When would you need me to come? Whenever you are ready, Zareth said. Take time to prepare, to arrange for your shop. This is not a quick visit. We hope you will stay for at least 6 months, perhaps longer if you wish. 6 months on, an alien homeworld. 6 months away from the shop, from Gateway Station, from everything familiar. It should have been terrifying, but Sam felt excited. There's something you should know first, Zareth said, voice becoming gentler. The toy you repaired. Kieran's mechanical dragon. It wasn't just any toy. It was crafted by my own bonded mate, who passed away when Kieran was very young. It's the only thing Kieran has that their other parent actually made with their own hands. When it broke, it felt like losing that parent all over again. Sam's breath caught. I didn't know. Kieran never said. Kieran doesn't fully understand yet how significant that dragon is, Zareth explained. But I knew. I watched you work through security feeds, wondering if you would simply patch it together carelessly or if you would truly try. When I saw you studying it, respecting it, treating it like the precious thing it was, that was when I knew humanity deserved a chance to show us who they really are. Tears filled Sam's eyes. I'm honored that I could help preserve that connection. No wonder Kieran treasures it so much. You didn't just repair an object, Valora said quietly. You healed a child's heart. You preserved a family's memory. You showed honor to someone who couldn't repay you and whom you had no obligation to help. This is what we Draconians respect above all else. Sam wiped her eyes and looked at the 3 Draconians standing in her modest shop. I'll come to Draconis Prime. I'll teach whatever I can. But I hope you'll also teach me about your culture, your technology, your ways. I think we have a lot to learn from each other. Zareth's face lit up with genuine joy. Exactly what I hoped you would say. 3 weeks later, Sam stood in her shop for the last time before the journey. Marcus and Syrah would manage things while she was gone. Regular customers had come to wish her well. Even Station Administrator Chen had stopped by with a gift, a new set of precision tools. As Sam locked the door and headed toward the docking bay where the Draconian diplomatic ship waited, she passed a small figure rushing toward her. Sam! Sam! Kieran called out, running up with the mechanical dragon cradled carefully in their arms. The dragon's scales shimmered with rainbow light, and it sang its sweet song as Kieran approached. I heard you're going to our homeworld, Kieran said excitedly. Mother told me you're going to teach our craftspeople. That's right, Sam said, kneeling down to Kieran's level. Kieran held out the dragon. Will you take this with you, so you won't be lonely on a strange world? It will remind you that you have friends waiting for you. Sam felt tears threatening again. Kieran, this is your most precious thing. I can't, please, Kieran insisted. You gave it back to me. Now I want to share it with you. Besides, Mother says we'll visit you on Draconis Prime next month. You can give it back then, and tell me all about your adventures." Sam carefully accepted the dragon, feeling its warmth, hearing its gentle song. "I'll take very good care of it. I promise." Kieran hugged Sam tightly, wings fluttering with happiness. "I know you will. You're the best mechanic and the best person in the whole galaxy." As Sam walked toward the waiting ship, the mechanical dragon singing softly in her hands, she thought about the strange path that had led her here. A broken toy, a child's tears, 3 sleepless nights of careful work, and now she was about to become the first human to visit the Draconian homeworld. Commander Zareth waited at the ship's entrance, smiling warmly. "Ready for your adventure, Master Mechanic?" Sam smiled back, feeling the dragon's warmth in her hands, and Kieran's hug still warm in her heart. "Ready. Let's build some bridges." The ship lifted off from Gateway Station, carrying Sam toward a future she never could have imagined. All because she had chosen kindness over profit, care over convenience, and had seen a crying child who needed help. Behind her, on the station, people of a dozen different species watched the ship depart and wondered what changes this simple human mechanic might bring to the galaxy. And, somewhere, in the vast darkness of space, other species who had heard the story began to look at humanity with new eyes, wondering what other surprises these strange, compassionate beings might hold. The bridge between worlds had been built with care, one repaired treasure at a time. And it was only the beginning.